All right, so from the last section, there was one slide, one point missing, which is about immediate corrective actions. So, immediate corrective action number one is just a training program. You train them to do what they're supposed to do. Number two is disciplinary action. You try to discipline them, okay? And number three is changes in compensation. If someone is very, very slow, you just give them lower salary and say when you start serving more customers, we're going to increase your salary. Okay. Section number three, we got about 15 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Is about the types of control. And types of control is related to when, and the guy is just waiting there, but when we do control and in what areas, when and what. So when we can do control before the problem occurs. We call this feed forward control. And this feed forward control anticipates problems and tries to resolve them before they become a problem, before you have complications. So this is based on the input. So you watching the input, you see what might be the problems, and you take corrective action before you got a problem. For this to happen, a lot of times you need timely and accurate information. If you got timely information, you got accurate information, you can anticipate the problems and have actions before, or control before the problem occurs. So that's number one. Number two is concurrent control. And concurrent control is you correct problems as they happen. So I've been implementing a number of concurrent controls, and as I see one of the problems is students coming late to class, you get to lock the door, okay? They see the door is locked, they try for a minute, they give up, and they know they're going to come back when the lecture is over to get their stuff, right? So, that's a concurrent control. Another type is, I see students using too much PowerPoint. Well, some are using too much the tablets too, right? Too busy with their own thing, right? Not paying any attention whatsoever. So, example of a current control is, separating you from the iPad, right? So you move the iPad far away, 1 meter away. It's called, yes, yeah, of course, yeah. No, far away. The next one. And you don't play with it anymore. It's called a concurrent control. Concurrent control is, I see you playing with it. I said, okay, move it away, okay? Now, it will be a feedback control if I let you play all the time, right, with it. And at the end of the class, I tell you, look, you've been playing with it. It's a big problem. I'll give you 5 penalty points to teach you a lesson, right? That will be a feedback control. It corrects the problem after it occurs, okay? So, if you make it before it occurs, it's called feed forward. If you make it during the time it occurs, it becomes concurrent. And if you make it after it occurs, it's a feedback control. And this is on when it happens. Now, the concurrent control requires and is used what's called direct supervision. In direct supervision, you actually watch and see what they do. And part of my job is not just to lecture you, okay, but also to watch who's doing and who's playing. Like Before the break, you had your other classmate playing the iPhone all the time, right? After the break, you're playing the iPad all the time, right? So this is called direct supervision. You watch them what they do, and if you see that it's not okay, then you take corrective action. Now, how it works in your business, let's say you got a receptionist, you're the manager of the hotel, and the receptionist is just talking on the phone and talking on the phone, and she's very excited about her boyfriend, right? And you got the customer there, and the customer is sitting, and the customer is waiting for the receptionist to finish her phone call, right? So, when you're a manager, what do? Well, you go to the reception and say, you know, if you wait a customer another time, next time more than 30 seconds, you will be fired, okay? That's one extreme corrective action. Another corrective action is you make the customer wait for another minute, and you're going to lose your salary today. No salary today, okay? When you take today's salary or this week's salary, they will learn, right? So there's got to be some form of a penalty. Because if there is no penalty, you know, just keep playing the iPad, no big deal, right? Or if it's with the iPhone, you just take the iPhone outside and you just keep playing with the iPhone outside. All right, so the point is direct supervision is what's required. Here, what is required is timely data. You need to see the data coming, and you need to foresee what's happening. Here, you need to directly observe what's happening, direct supervision over here. And here, you need to have good statistical information. Here, you see what the problems are with statistical information, and you say, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, okay? All right, like we need to fix the problem with attendance, which will be for next semester. And this covers the topic of when. The key word here is when. Before the problem, during the problem, after the problem. All right? And now we need to focus on what? Okay, types of control, the concurrent control, okay, the feedback control, and areas. Now, the areas that we measure, the slide is again a little bit tricky. We got 1, 2, 3 areas. So let's do the 3 areas over here. First area is finance. The second area is information. And the third is what we call balanced scorecard. All right? So, these are the 3 areas which I'll be discussing. Number 1. So, within what we measure, area number 1 is finance. And finance goes in 2 ways. One is called, let's do this, finance. I'll do here a little area, and it's called ratio analysis. Ratio analysis. And the other one is called budget. Budget analysis. So, what is a ratio analysis? Ratio analysis is the use of financial ratios to analyze financial performance. So, what is a financial ratio? Financial ratio is simply a ratio coming from various accounting information, coming from financial reports, coming from the balance sheet, or coming from the income statement. And you have, in this particular case, you got 4 primary types of ratios. And these are specific examples. Now, I will not be asking you to learn the specific ratios like current ratio and asset ratios, but you have to learn the types of ratio. So, you got 4 types: liquidity ratios, leverage ratios, activity ratios, and profitability ratios. So, liquidity ratios measure the organization's ability to service its debt, to service its obligations. Do they have enough money to pay their suppliers? Do they have enough money to pay their interest? Do they have enough money to pay their salaries? In other words, whatever expenses they have to make, they have enough money to do it. Number 2 is leverage. And leverage measures debt, the degree of indebtedness, the level of indebtedness. How much deep in debt you are, well, that will be the debt to assets ratio. So, leverage ratio tell you the level of debt and indebtedness, okay? Ideally, you should have relatively little debt. If you got too much debt, probably you are in trouble or getting yourself in trouble. Next one is activity ratios. And activity ratios measure performance, measure how well you use your assets or how well you use your inventory. So somehow you measure how quickly you turn things around in the business, how quickly you turn them over. And you have here, you see, inventory turnover and total asset turnover. How quickly you turn over your inventory and how quickly you turn over your assets. And the last one is profitability. And profitability is simply a measure which tells you how profitable your business is, whether you generate good profits. And usually you measure profits either relative to total sales or relative to total assets, or you can measure profitability relative to your investment or relative to your capital or relative to your equity. So each of these will have 2 or 3 or 4 different ratios, but you need to understand what is a liquidity ratio and what it measures, what is a leverage ratio, okay? Ability to make payments and service obligations. Leverage is your overall indebtedness. Activities, how quickly you turn your business over. And profitability, how well you're able to generate profits. And this is the basic of ratio analysis. The other type of analysis we use in finance is called budget analysis. And budget analysis is based on a budget. And budget is a financial plan. A financial plan. Example I gave you 2 lectures ago is your budget is 10,000 Thai baht a month. You're going to spend 3,000 on rents, 2,000 on food, 1,000 on mobile phone and utilities like electricity, water, and you got 4,000 left to spend on whatever other things like restaurants and beer and whatever else you want to spend it on, like water, like coffee, and all the other things. So that's a budget. The budget is simply a financial plan. And budget analysis simply means you take a look at your financial plan and then you look at your actual financial performance and you make a comparison and you analyze. Did you overspend on salaries? Did you overspend on inventories? Oh, maybe you overspent on electricity, or maybe you overspent on telephones. Alright? So you measure where your actual performance is not up to the budget. The budget was the original financial plan, which would be okay, all right? And your actual performance, you see where you deviated, where you spend more money. If you spend less money, great. You save, you improve your performance, okay? Well, sometimes the budget will also include not just spending, will also include revenues. You would expect to have so many customers and to have so much revenue per customer, and the budget will tell you we're supposed to have 1,000 customers in the restaurant this month, about 30 customers per day, and instead you had only 20. So you did not generate enough revenues, okay? So you did not meet your budget. So we got a budget on the revenue side, and I got a budget on the expenditure side, or the expense side, okay? And I think with this we're going to finish. Next time we're going to cover the information, the balanced scorecard, and we're going to cover the contemporary issues, which is section 4. Good enough for today? Right? Okay.